Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining. So today what I want to talk about is something that unfortunately many of us have to deal with, and that's the auto dealership service department. I just did a video about my wife's Volkswagen Golf that we took to the Volkswagen dealership a short while ago, and not so much a fiasco, but you can save a lot of money if you know what you're doing, and that's what I'm sort of going to talk about now as well. This is my 2021 Trackhawk. I have 3 oil changes through this Jeep Wave program that I get for free. Oil changes as well as tire rotation. So I brought it for the second oil change very recently within the past few weeks. And again, this is very frustrating. I went to the dealership, I went into the service department. I made sure to make an appointment because it was a work day and I wanted to get in and out of there as quickly as possible. And of course, luckily I brought my work computer so I could hook up to the Wi-Fi. But again, I didn't want to be there all day. So I brought it in, I told them what it needed. It needed the oil change and tire rotation. So we went, sat down, and actually we were looking around in the dealership at some other cars. And it was supposed to take an hour and a half. And again, we arrived early so that hopefully we maybe could get out of there early. But my wife noticed after we were there for a while, looking outside at some of the cars in the lot, that my Jeep, the Trackhawk, was kind of just sitting in the same parking space it had been in for a while. So it didn't look like they'd done anything with it yet. And again, we had an appointment. We wanted to get in and out of there quickly. So, okay, whatever. We went back in, and a short while later, we got a text that it was ready. So we went in, talked to the service advisor, and by the way, nice guy, you know, he was good to deal with and all that, but he said everything's set, oil was changed, the tires were rotated. We went into the office, we got the paperwork that said it was all done, signed the papers, and then we got in the car and started to drive away. But one thing I always do when I get oil changes is I always stop and check the oil. And this is because I heard a story years ago that some guy went to, you know, one of the local oil change places, one of the rapid change places, and they had emptied his oil, put the new oil filter on, and forgot to put oil in the car. So he blew his engine. So I never forgot that story. I again pulled around on the other side of the parking lot of the dealership's lot. I checked the oil. The oil was dirty and it was low. So it hadn't been changed. I then looked at the tires and I could tell they hadn't been changed either. So basically nothing had been done. I'd been there an hour and a half, and if I hadn't checked, and most people don't, even car guys don't, you assume that it's done. If I hadn't checked, I would have gone home, assumed everything was cool, and I may not have brought it in for another 5,000 miles. And not good on a Trackhawk. I spent a lot of money at that particular dealership, and that's the service I got. So I went back in and I told the service advisor, hey, this wasn't done. And he kind of looked it over and he admitted it. He didn't know what happened, who dropped the ball. He actually took the blame himself, said, I'm sorry, my fault. I jumped the gun. But yeah, we'll bring it right back in. So they brought it back in, and this time we made sure to watch that it went up on the lift and that they changed the oil and so forth. And another hour and a half later, so instead of them taking it right away and getting it done, it took another hour and a half. So we were there over 3 hours, having made an appointment to get it done so that we didn't have to wait, but of course we did. So that's the story. Here's something that was even more frustrating. I called the service director of the dealership. Actually, they have a few dealerships, and he's the service director of, I guess, more than one. And I wanted to let him know what happened. I didn't want to get anyone in trouble. I didn't even plan to mention the service writer's name, but I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some kind of a process failure where this is getting, this happens a lot because, you drive away. If I hadn't checked the oil, and if the normal person drove away and hadn't checked, they would have assumed it was done and waited another 5,000 miles, which would have been a total of 10,000 without the oil being changed. So that's a bad thing. I called the service director, left him a message. He didn't call me back right away. I sent him an email. One of his underlings called me like a couple days later and said, yeah, Dave told me to call, what's up? And I said, I told Dave specifically I wanted him to call me back. I want to discuss something with him. So the guy said, okay, fine, I'll let Dave know. Week went by, I sent him another email. He never called back. That's the worst part of the service. That number one, they didn't do anything. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And number two, they didn't even care to call a good customer back. I've actually purchased 2 cars from this dealership, and that's the service I get. So that was frustrating. That really pissed me off. So you know how you get an evaluation from Stellantis, from Chrysler? I never fill those out. I don't want to get the dealership in trouble. I usually have a good relationship with the dealership, but I had to spell it all out and sent it back in. Haven't heard back from them yet on that. Sales department at this dealership is great, but that's the story. Bottom line, whenever you get service done, especially at an auto dealership, even at a regular corner service shop, make sure you always double check that the work has been done. If you're having parts replaced, ask to have the parts put aside so you can look at them. If you have the oil changed, make sure you check the oil, that it's been done, that it's up to level, and that it's clean. By the way, if you have a Trackhawk, there's one thing that the dealers do not do, the dealership service departments. There's an oil cooler underneath, it's kind of the passenger side under the bumper, obviously, right in front of the engine. And to get to it, you have to really take a bunch of stuff apart, including part of the front bumper covers. And it's about maybe a half a quart to a quart of oil that you basically take the drain plug out of that filter and it empties it out. The dealer didn't do it. They never do. There is a mod for people, once you start changing your own oil, where you cut a piece out, a triangular piece of the underneath of the bumper cover, and then you can empty out that filter, and then you put that plastic piece back up with fasteners. So that's something I'll do in the future. I guess that's it for now. So if you haven't already done so, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell. Those things help a lot. Take care. We'll see you next time.